March is coming. It's the last week of the regular season with teams making the final push to boost their resumes before brackets are released. So let's take a look at the latest AP poll. The top 5 remaining the same with Houston at number 1, Marquette up 4 spots to number 6, Gonzaga jumping into the top 10 after beating St. Mary's, UVA the biggest faller down 7 spots to 13, and welcome back to Kentucky, back in the rankings for the first time this season after 4 straight wins. Pittsburgh also entering the poll. Now let's bring in Isaac Trotter to break it all down. And Isaac, we'll start with Alabama at number 2. We all know the situation surrounding Brandon Miller. We haven't heard from the players, though. They haven't been made available to the media, so we don't know what's going on in their minds. He appears unfazed, scoring a career-high 41 points at South Carolina, then leading the team in scoring again, 24 points against Arkansas. How do you think this situation affects Miller and the team moving forward?
Yeah, I don't know how it can't. This is such a heavy situation. I understand why Brandon Miller is playing, but from an outsider's view, it really feels like Alabama has bungled this a lot from a PR standpoint. We've seen a lot of players get suspended for far less than being involved in a crime where someone died. And I think that's the biggest point at the end of the day. We still have a 23-year-old woman who's dead. We have a 5-year-old who's going to wake up every day without his mom. That's tough. That's heavy. That's going to weigh on this team. You still have a teammate Darius Miles, who is going to be facing capital murder charges. Like this is heavy. I don't know how it doesn't affect Alabama and Brandon Miller and the rest of this team. Jaden Bradley was also there as well. At the same time, though, I do think that Alabama needs to show that they are taking this really seriously. They haven't really said the right things the last few days. Nate Oates' comments originally were unprepared, weren't very. Brandon Miller has still not been made available to the media. I don't know if that's going to happen. If they make the NCAA tournament, they're the number 1 seed. There's going to be multiple media availabilities, open locker room. Is he going to be talking? I don't know. His lawyers have spoken for him till then. So at the end of the day, this is a talented team, but this is the biggest story in college basketball. I just don't know how it doesn't affect this team. This is deep. And this is really, really painful stuff that a lot of people are impacted by this. And Alabama's bungled it. We'll see if they can start making and saying the right things, both on and off the court, so that we can honor the memory of the woman who died and the 5-year-old who doesn't have a mom anymore.
Yeah, very well said. Lots of questions, and we will surely keep everybody up to date on 247sports.com with any news that comes out of Tuscaloosa. Moving back to play on the court, Kansas closing in on another Big 12 title, standing 1 game ahead of Texas. It would be Bill Self's 17th regular season conference championship in his 20 years at KU. So impressive. But Saturday's 2-point win against West Virginia, a little too close for comfort. So how do you feel about the Jayhawks going back-to-back in the big dance at this point?
I still feel great about this team and where they're trending. I think when you look at the rest of college basketball, Kansas knows who they are. I think DeJuan Harris and Kevin McCullough have been 2 of the best role players in the country this season. When those 2 guys are on the floor together this year, Kansas is allowing less than 1 point per possession on defense. They're just a menacing duo there. Now, Harris leaving the game late really impacted that thing with an ankle injury. Getting him back and healthy will be the biggest thing for Kansas moving forward. But when you look at what they're at from a historical perspective, we're talking about 17 Big 10 or Big 12 titles in the last 20 years. If they get 1 more win this year, that's absurd stuff. I think I'm not going out on a limb to say like that might not ever happen again. That's historical. This run that Kansas and Bill Self is on. And I still think this Jayhawks team has as high of a ceiling as anybody in the tournament. They have the best coach in college basketball. They have an All-American candidate in Jalen Wilson. They have one of the most impactful freshmen in the country in Grady Dick. And then those 2 role players like Kevin McCullough and DeJuan Harris have meant everything. It's a Kansas team that plays small, yet their 2-point defense, even without a big dude on the floor, has been one of the best in college basketball, one of the best in Big 12 play. And if they're limiting those easy buckets at the rim and continuing to do what they do offensively, Kansas is going to have no problem making the second weekend and then making a lot of noise based on what their draw is.
All right, so Kansas flying high, but one team coming back down to earth is Purdue, and that's thanks to Indiana completing the season sweep over its rival for the first time in a decade. Jalen Hood-Schifino, the hero in that game with a career-high 35 points. The Hoosiers jump into the top 15 in the AP poll. How deep into the tournament do you think they can go?
they have Final Four upside. When you look at a team like that has Jalen Hood-Schifino and Trace Jackson-Davis, you look through college basketball, there's not a better duo than those two. Like, that's an elite duo that Mike Woodson has had. And the injuries to Xavier Johnson really unlocked Trace Jackson-Davis taking a bigger load and Jalen Hood-Schifino getting the ball in his hands. That 35-point outing against Purdue was a masterclass from this freshman. He's been a little up and down, but at his best, he's been elite. He's the Big Ten Freshman of the Year. And that's not saying anything lightly, because this Big Ten Freshman of the Year race has been really heated between Ohio State's Bryce Sensabaugh. Michigan's Jet Howard's been awesome. But Hood-Schifino is playing at an elite level right now. His ball screen offense is fantastic. His ability to get off screens, hit those mid-range jumpers. He can hit the floaters. He can pass with either hand to shooters. So when you look at Indiana's NCAA tournament hopes, I don't care what the draw is. They're going to go in the game thinking they have the best two players on the floor. And Trace Jackson-Davis can dominate both ends of the floor. Jalen Hood-Schifino's defense, too, can't be overstated, too. So two-way guys who can be elite on both ends of the floor. Not many teams have that, and Indiana's role players are also stepping up as well. So I really like where this Hoosiers team is trending. This is a team that I would want nothing to do with in the Big Dance.
Yeah, getting hot at the right time. All right, obviously we got to have some bubble talk here. Arizona State entered the weekend, and most experts next four out. Then they went out and put up their best win of the season, a buzzer beater against rival Arizona. The Sun Devils are 9-8 in quad 1 and 2 games. So what's their case to make the bracket?
I think they're a couple wins short. They need a couple more to feel really good on Selection Sunday, and they get opportunities for it. The Pac-12 has been pretty down this year, but from a standpoint of schedule, you kind of like that they have to play UCLA and USC, two teams who are projected to make the NCAA tournament to close this regular season. If they get one of those games, especially that UCLA game, I think you got to feel really good about this team and what Bobby Hurley's going to have in the NCAA tournament. But then you look at the Pac-12 tournament, they have to do a really good job of just not losing to the wrong team. You can just lose to Arizona, lose to UCLA, lose to USC maybe, and you feel a lot better about what they can do. And this is an Arizona State team that can play a lot of defense. We've seen them be one of the elite defensive units in the country, but their offense can be a little bit hit and miss. But at the same time, like, while it's inconsistent, they have guard play. When you have defense and you have elite guard play like Desmond Cambridge, who can go for 25, Frankie Collins, who can flirt with triple doubles, DJ Horn's a guy who can go for 20 plus. When you have guard play and you have defense, that gives you a chance. So beat UCLA or USC and maybe win a couple games in the Pac-12 tournament, maybe lose in the championship game, and Bobby Hurley's dancing.
All right, I like the plan. Now, a month ago, I'm not sure Michigan would have been anywhere near the bubble. The Wolverines started the month of February with an 11-10 record, but have gone 6-2 since then. And one of those losses was by just 1 point to Indiana. So what do you think is the reason for the Wolverines' turnaround here?
Their stars are starting to show up. Kobe Buffkin's improvement as a sophomore has been impressive to watch. He's arguably college basketball's most improved player. He's gone from a guy who looked like a deer, a young deer, maybe like sliding around last year, not really sure, so young, so weak last year. And this year he's just developed physically and taken his game to a whole new level. And he has been playing at a really, really high level that he might be a first-round draft pick right now. So this is a Michigan team that I think they need to get to. Their magic number is 6. They need 3 more quad 1 wins to feel really good about what they've built for Selection Sunday. And they get 2 of them this week, at Illinois and at Indiana. You got to win at least one of those. You go into the Big Ten tournament, you're trying to get one of those top 50 teams in the net. Maybe it's a Northwestern, maybe it's Iowa, maybe it's Illinois again, maybe it's Maryland. You try to get a couple more of those wins in the Big Ten tournament, and you feel good about this resume and getting to 6 quad 1 victories. And this is a kind of what Juwan Howard has done now for the second year in a row. This Michigan team peaks at the right time a little bit. And if they're an 11 seed, think about that poor 6 seed, who's had a great year. They make the tournament. You get a 6 seed. All right, who do we get? All right, we get a number 11 seed Michigan, and that's a Big Ten preseason player of the year, Hunter Dickinson, a first-round pick in Kobe Buffkin, potential first-round pick in Jet Howard, and a freshman in Doug McDaniel, who has shown that he can put up numbers, right? He had 20 against Wisconsin on Sunday. So that doesn't feel fair, right, at all. And so it could be a situation where a loaded team on paper, from a talent perspective, is able to make some noise if they can just get to that magic number of 6 down the stretch. They did it last year. Can they do it this year? We're about to find out.
All right, that's why we love this sport. So many implications in the final week of the regular season. All right, thank you, Isaac. And as we get closer to the NCAA tourney, stay up to date with the latest college basketball news and analysis. Please like this video and subscribe to the 24/7 Sports channel.